Why are some people incredibly magnetic when other people seem to feel like their magnetism is absolutely dull? That's a question we're going to be answering today. I'm going to be doing some whiteboard work further down to show you exactly why that's happening. Most people think that magnetism is looks, charisma, and a certain attitude. There is some truth to that because that is actually a byproduct, because there are people who are quite attractive and have charisma and a level of presence, but as soon as you get to know them, and if they are not coherent and self-assured and truly, genuinely beyond confidence, it's beyond confidence, and I'll refer to it as certainty. If they are not holding deep, deep certainty, then that air of their magnetism, it seems to dial out. I'm going to show you how you can maintain a very high level of magnetism. And the reason that we're talking about magnetism, it's not just about a superficial, I want to be magnetic. I want people to think that I'm magnetic. That's not what this work is about. This work is about how do you construct your own life, your own reality, to be attracting the things that you want, the opportunities, the people, the relationships, the events and circumstances, by looking at why the magnetism is occurring in the first place. Magnetism itself is something that exists within each and every one of us. There is truth that some people are naturally born with a higher level of magnetism. However, if there is not a deep, convicted sense of self-worth and self-value, that magnetism can wear down in time. There is also the point that some people are highly magnetic to the wrong things in life. They keep attracting the things that they don't want. I'm going to share with you on this whiteboard today why that's happening. Most people are wanting to be like this highly magnetic person, and what they're experiencing is potentially this state that they feel like their magnetism has drained out, whether they've gotten older in life or they've just had a continuous series of events and circumstances occur, could be specific partners that they're attracting, that haven't been making them feel that life's actually working in their favor. So I'm going to show to you why this is happening. And if you are new to this space, welcome. My name is Marni Bellezito. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. The work that I focus on is performance psychology, frequency, energetic work, but predominantly rooted in a non-woo approach. What I have is 28 years of experience of working with very high-level brands, billion-dollar brands, multi-million-dollar brands, high achievers, people in the process of self-mastery. I've worked with CEOs, executives, six-figure entrepreneurs, even new entrepreneurs starting out. I've mentored over 28 years. And what I found is the continuous high achievers all had something in common. They definitely had a magnetic presence about them. I'm going to show you what's happening with magnetism. So everything comes back to your state. I refer to state, and your state is essentially who you are being most of the time. This can also be referred to as your set point. So it's who you are being. This is who you are. And you have an energetic set point of a vibration. This vibration is essentially who you are. Everything is energy in the universe, on the planet. As we know, science has proven that everything is moving energy. And what you'll find is who you are being is your vibration, but it is your set point. It's your point of attraction. So the spiritualists will refer to this as yourself. The psychologist will refer to this as your identity. Performance psychology also refers to it as identity. Mindset coaches, mindset teachings will refer to it as your self-concept. The Kabbalists will refer to it as your vessel. And in the work that I'm doing, I am referring to it as your state, but ultimately, all of the work that I'm teaching you is teaching you how to actually have the impact and the effect to manipulate. When I say manipulate, I mean to be able to take a greater control over what your frequency is, because your frequency is the energy that you are emitting, and it is essentially telling people, opportunities, your friends, family, your partner, your children, if you have children, your nieces, nephews, all the kids in your life, your work or industry. The list goes on. Basically, your entire experience in this reality. Everything is responding. And that's a very important word. Everything is responding to your frequency. Your frequency is the energy that emits from your state. So it's the energy that's emitting from your state. Now, highly magnetic people, whether they're conscious of this or not, have an understanding that they are emitting and radiating an energy, and they feel it in their body first, and it radiates, and it can come across as incredible confidence. Most people will actually identify it as a high level of confidence. Other people will call it, that person is so attractive. Have you ever met people where you may not even think that attractive? Well, when I say that attractive, traditionally attractive in their physique, but there's just something about them. There's something that draws you to them. That's magnetism. It's personal magnetism. People will also describe magnetism as having a presence, because a person can walk into a room and not even say a word or say very little, and the whole ambience, the energy in the room shifts. Now, this can happen with someone who brings in a very heavy and draining energy, and that is someone who isn't magnetic. In fact, they have more of a repulsive behaving frequency, and it can be a draining frequency. And that's another conversation that we can have in further episodes. We're going to stay on track for this conversation. But with people who are genuinely magnetic, their presence it radiates, it pulls you in, and people can't even explain. They say, I've heard this, how are you doing that? How are you doing that? How are you doing that to me? Even someone who's not attracted to you, when you switch on this level of radiating magnetism, all of a sudden they don't even understand why they're attracted to you, but they're pulled to you and they can't even control it. So looking at the state, your state is everything. Now, the work that, as I mentioned, that I refer to is all around performance psychology and attracting the desired reality that you want so you can live the life that you want, because this does not have to be hard. Actually, the first time I came across this knowledge was when I was 24 years old. I was studying in a fashion degree, and I had come across the concept of, and I'll share it with you, is macrocosm and microcosm. And this was the first mystical study that I had looked at, which was Sufism at the time. I was in a fashion design degree, and at the time, it was something that I had explored. I was exploring the concept of illumination. Now, how does this even relate? Have we gone off topic? No, we haven't. How does this relate to magnetism? Well, illumination is all about illuminating from inside out. You see, most of the world, 97% of the world, is not in tune with understanding the laws of the universe, the laws of creation, the laws of reality. The architecture of reality is what I like to call it. The architecture of reality really stems down to what you are emanating from your state of frequency. And your state of frequency is absolutely impacted by your perception of who you are being. Your perception is one element, but your state, who you are being a majority of the time. And when I refer to microcosm and macrocosm, what I mean by this is you are the microcosmic experience within the universe. And the universe is having a microcosmic experience through you. So everything is connected. So when your state is in the microcosm, when your state is low in self-worth, diminished in self-value, when you continuously compromise your boundaries, when you have a low sense of self-concept, there are an array of experiences that come out of carrying this type of identity. Identity is the absolute important part of you, who you identify as. If you identify, 97% of people identify as someone who has low self-worth, low self-value, and are diminished in their self-worth and self-concept and their identity, and they've got very weak boundaries because they're looking outside of themselves. And I'm going to refer back to the microcosm and macrocosm here. And today we're looking at some of the Sufi elements that I have learnt and studied over the years. There are other studies that I look at as well, which I'll share in further episodes, which come down to the laws of the universe and creation. I also look into Kabbalah. I also look into performance psychology. I look at the behaviors of highly magnetic people, those that I've coached, mentored, and also had the, I say, incredible experience to also be around some very high level performers within the industries I've been in. And I look at psychology in particular and how you can apply this in a practical sense. But what's really important is if we don't understand the framework, at least at a very surface level, a top level to initially begin with, if we don't understand how the architecture of reality actually works, then we can't even manipulate the frequency that we have to be of a higher level, higher frequency. If you go back to my 3 C's video, which is an earlier one that I've done, I'll actually talk to you more in detail about frequency and state, and I'll also share with you, which I have, the 3 C's that actually help you to elevate your identity and elevate your frequency so you attract what you desire. Today we're looking at the difference of why some people are highly magnetic to their desires and why some people aren't, and how you can actually fix that for yourself. Now, in the 3 C's, I also refer to the 3 C's as the first one is concentration. And I'm going to only touch on these briefly. As I mentioned, I've gone more into depth in them in the earlier videos, which you can watch. Most people are completely unconscious of where their concentration is. Most people, so our little friend here, who keeps having the same experiences looping over and over again, where he feels that he's attracting things that he doesn't want. He doesn't want to be attracting these things. And then he sees somebody here who is highly magnetic to an incredible life. They almost look lucky. It looks effortless. It looks effortless to them. And they just seem like life is always working in their favor. They have the partner, ideal partner, an amazing partner. They have a great home. They may have an incredible, all the things that you want materially, but this is beyond material gratification, because as we know, that doesn't bring complete fulfillment. What brings complete fulfillment is different for everybody. We know that there are aspects well beyond the physical, but the physical experience and also the emotional and spiritual and mental experience is all occurring within this center point of you, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. So a highly magnetic person understands their magnetism, and they have understood that their feelings, what they are feeling, is actually radiating out into the universe, and their feelings are directly impacted by their thoughts. A person who is attracting a reality that they don't desire continuously in the same loops over and over again. This is happening because they are continuing to concentrate on what they don't like about their reality. They are continuously focusing on what they want to fix, what isn't working, the stresses of money, stresses of relationship dynamics, stresses of hardships, pressures, ill health. Whatever it be, there's a whole array there. There's a whole gamut. It could be anything. I'm sure you may have a list yourself. If a person is continuously concentrating on the things that are bringing them a bad, negative, heavy, low vibration experiences. Now, just to go to the side to index this, high vibration isn't a state that a person can stay in all the time. That is not how the laws of the universe work. There is law of polarity. So every emotion sits in an opposite state in emotion. So if it's happiness, for example, the complete opposite is sadness. Now imagine this is the center line where everything is neutral. The emotions that are on this side are of an elevated, higher, lighter frequency. The emotions that are on this lower end are heavier, denser, lower frequency vibrations. Lower frequency vibrations will always attract a lower frequency, dense, more difficult reality. Higher frequency vibration will always attract higher, lighter, more prosperous, abundant frequency, because the universe will always give you, the laws of creation itself will always give to the path of least resistance. That's a very important one. I would write that down. The path of least resistance. Now, how does this work? Well, you may think, oh yeah, path of least resistance. Well, why do wealthy people become wealthier and wealthier? Why do people who are struggling with finances stay in those loops? And potentially, if they're continuously stressing about it, their wealth is diminishing lower and lower and lower. Why does it occur in any experience that you could apply it to? Well, that's because the universe has laws, and one of those laws happens to be, before I share that, beyond the universe is the all, the Hermetists, they call it the all that has created all in existence. So we refer to, naturally people will call it God, the Kabbalists call it the creator, the Sufis, and so on. So we've got all of this: source, universe, and so on. The universe has universal laws. Those universal laws, the universe will continuously look for the path of least resistance. You have heard like attracts like, but let's decode that. Like attracts like. Well, like attracts like. If a person is continuously struggling with finances, love, fulfillment, health, you could pick any word here, friendships, whatever it be for you, your desires, continuously struggling with desires not occurring. It's like continuously a cycle. Could be a lifetime of experiencing this. The universe will continuously bring you the same experiences because it is the path of least resistance. This is why magnetic people understand this. They understand that when they are embodying the state of their most fullest, radiant, magnetic self in harmony, very important, you'll want to write that down, in harmony with the universal laws, they know how to transmute these lower vibrational emotions, and we spoke about them a little earlier. And as I mentioned, you could go back to my video, The 3 C's for Reality Creation. I give you more of a breakdown on the frequency of emotions and how emotions are energy in motion. So the universal law is looking for harmony. If someone is experiencing a chaotic life, it will just bring more chaos into your life. If someone is continuously around drama, it will loop drama because it is the path of least resistance. Magnetic people understand the universe is seeking harmony. It is seeking harmony and it goes to the path of least resistance. So a magnetic person will ensure that their state is in harmony with the higher vibration emotions. What people don't know, 97% of the world does not know this consciously, yet they are living it every moment of their life. And it is incredibly powerful. What most people don't know is the language of the universe, of creation, of God, of source, of the all, is emotion. Now, you've been taught that it's your thoughts. The universe, life itself, does not respond to thoughts that are not dominant. And dominant thoughts will always have an emotion attached to them. Now, the emotion itself becomes charged, and when it is charged, the frequency magnifies. The universe will continuously magnify and create momentum around the dominant emotions, which are linked to your dominant thoughts. So how do we change this? We must change our frequency. In order to change our frequency, we have to alter our identity. We spoke about self-concept, self, all of this. I'm referring to it as identity for this video. We must alter our identity to match the identity of the one who has the desires, the level, the opportunities, the experiences, the people, the partners, and so on that you desire now. Most people are creating an identity in the future. They are envisioning and visualizing a future version of themselves. And they are saying, when I become. And you may have heard that people say who they are becoming. However, this, from my experience, delays your desires from coming into your reality. That's the loophole no one understands initially. And you can waste years working on who you are becoming. But ultimately, the universe isn't interested in who you are becoming, because who you are becoming is a future identity, and the future doesn't exist to the universe. The only thing that exists to the universe is now. This specific current second, this moment now. So your identity now is what is attracting everything. So you need to shift your identity by working on shifting your frequency to match the identity of who and what you've desired, but in the now. And that's why people who are highly magnetic understand that identity is the cornerstone, and they understand by detaching themselves from the future, detaching themselves from timing, detaching themselves from pressure speeds up everything, because to a highly magnetic person, time has no meaning. It really has no meaning, because they are so certain, so convicted and sure in themselves that it is already done. And so it is.